things going on. And Dr. Matthews, who is our principal, literally will be running off the stage, heading out to another event to work on something with some of our seniors. So we're going to go ahead and get started so that he can welcome everybody and talk to you for just a second, and then we will start our program. Dr. Matthews.
Thanks, Ms. Best. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We've got some people coming in and continue to join us. I'm not really going to run off stage, so those of you that are waiting for me to literally run off the stage, that's not going to happen. But I do appreciate you understanding that, because usually I'd like to stay around a little bit and meet some of you and talk through a few things. So what I do know is you know where to find me. So what I'd like to tell you, other than welcome to Peachtree Ridge, and the fact that 2023 makes me feel older than I did when we welcomed 2022, is that you need to understand we've got your kids. Relax. They're in a good place. They're with one of the best staffs around. We've got a very experienced staff. We've got a staff that has a lot of high energy, and they're going to take care of your kids. We talk all the time about what structures, what supports need to be in place to make sure that your students are at the right level of rigor and that they're being stretched appropriately. And when I mean stretched appropriately, we want to push them a little bit, but we want to have that support in place as we do push them. Because as we move forward, what I would encourage you to do, and I don't know, how many first-time ninth grade parents do we have out here? Okay, so we got a couple. Guys, there's a lot of different, I don't know if this was the case when your children were born. When mine were born, I got 5,000 different people telling me 5,000 different ways that I needed to raise my kids. What I'm telling you in my experience is when they get to high school, you may feel like you need to kind of let them go on their own and do their thing, which is part of what you need to do, but in my experience, don't completely let go. You need to stay involved at a pretty high level. You need to be a support for them, and you know your child better than anybody else. You know what kind of support your child needs, and it needs to be a conversation that you have with us so that as we work together, we can make sure that we support them appropriately. And I will tell you that as they move forward, we hear things from time to time saying, oh, they're in high school now, I'm just letting them make all the calls. Don't. Okay? My advice to you is, from time to time, it's okay for a child to fall down the stairs, right? Just don't let them get hit by the bus. Okay? Let them fall a little bit, but don't let them get hit by the bus. That's how they grow, that's how they learn. I can tell you that we've got one of the best staffs on hand. You'll hear from Ms. Best. I will tell you that Ms. Best, as we talk through, one of the first things she always says at the very beginning of every year when we start talking about duties and responsibilities, which I call shared commitments, she goes, I can do a lot of things for you, but do not take me out of the ninth grade. I love the ninth grade. I love those students. That's what my passion is. She tells me that every year, not that I would ever really take her out of ninth grade, but she just reminds me of that every time that she's here. So she has a true passion and a true love for our ninth grade students. It is going to be an interesting year, and I will tell you that to relax as best you can as they move forward. We work on everything from making sure they have a little bit of an idea of where to eat lunch on the first day. Because how many students do we have in here? Okay, one of those, good, welcome guys. One of those things that on the first day, they're like, I got first block, I got second block. Deep down, they're scared about lunch because they don't know where to sit and who to sit with. So we really try to help them through that process so they have an idea of what that's like. And we've got a lot of upperclassmen that are here to support. So this is one of the most tolerant schools that I've ever been to. And if you ever want to see our school in action, coming and watching them at lunch when they have the option to sit where they want to sit really gives you a good idea of what our student body is like. It's very diverse, but our strength is in that diversity. The tolerance that our students have give them a level of education as they graduate from Peachtree Ridge that other schools simply can't do. They don't have the makeup for it. And our kids come back time and time again and tell us how much that helps them when they graduate from here. Which, by the way, speaking of graduation, those of you that have had kids go through already, it will get here before you know it. If you thought middle school flew by, high school is twice as fast. So pause a little bit, enjoy the ride, stay involved. Stay involved. Do not detach. Students, the same advice to you, stay involved. And just know that your students are coming to a good place. We've got them, and we spend every day making sure that they're safe and making sure that they're being stretched appropriately with the right amount of support. So with that being said, I want to welcome you guys to Peachtree Ridge. And if you have any questions, concerns, please make sure you write those down so that we can address those as we move forward. This is a time for us to kind of get you to relax a little bit and realize that these next couple of years as they go by are going to go by quickly. And but it's going to be fun. It's going to be enjoyable. So welcome to Peachtree Ridge. Miss Beth, let me get back to you guys. Go Lions!
Thank you. Every year when we have this meeting, and I want to point out to you kids and to your parents, the students that you see with the blazers, where are my freshman leadership team? You guys wave. They are freshmen, so they sat in the 8th grade seats last year, and we always talk about this night is our first time to make a first impression for you guys coming in. And so I really stop and I think, okay, what do I want these parents to know? And I can tell you anything you want to know about the school and this and that, but truthfully, when you leave here tonight, I want you to think, that lady's going to take care of my child. I really do have a blast of 9th graders. They're a special breed. They come from being 8th graders where they think they rule the school, and they do. But when they walk into a high school and they've got juniors and seniors, they're just peons. They really are. And they come in thinking they're all that, but they still run down the halls. It takes probably about 2 months, and they settle into being a freshman. A second semester 9th grader is a very different person than a first semester 9th grader is. I love it. I think it's fun and it's funny and I laugh and I probably play with the kids 98% of the time. But it's very important to me that they know how much I care about them. When they are our age, I want them to look back on their high school experience and I want them to think, I did it right. And I tell them, these next 4 years will determine what your life is like when you're my age. These next 4 years will determine your next steps and the opportunities that they have. Not everybody's going to go to college. We all have different aspirations and different things we want to do, but part of my job and part of your job, and together is when we can do it best, is to get them there, to have them set up so that they can be in the best spot to take those next steps. Of course, they need to do the bulk of the work, but when they see us together, they'll get there. And it's just fun. Let me just kind of give you a layout of the evening. I'm going to go over just some this and that about what is Peachtree Ridge High School about, what's the block schedule, how does this registration thing work. And that will take to about 6:45, 7 o'clock, and then we have 3 breakout sessions. One, our LEAP and our SPIRE teachers will talk to you in here. We always have a lot of questions, what's the difference between the two? So those teachers and some students who are in LEAP and SPIRE will talk. In the theater, we will have an AP presentation where we've got our AP coordinator and some students will talk about that. And then in E110, our math department chair will just give you a little bit of overview about math. All of those things I will lightly brush over, but let's just get started on all this. All right. So generally, and I said this a minute ago, our job here at Peachtree Ridge is to be sure that the kids are ready for their next step, whatever that next step will be. The mom in me, I want them to enjoy it too. And I've been doing this for a while, and I never realized how long I've been doing it until this time when I stand up each year and think, this is my 29th year. I've been an assistant principal for 19, all in Gwinnett. But one of the things that makes you guys extra special to me, and I really felt badly saying this my first year here, which this is year 7, I live in this community. I have lived in the Peachtree Ridge community since '97, and I've always loved my jobs. I've been at Norcross as an AP, and I've been at Duluth as an AP, and I love the kids and the parents there. But I was surprised that I love y'all a little bit more because you're mine. I'll see you at Kroger. Many of you, I remember when your children who are sitting out here now were born. I have graduated 2 kids from here, and my baby is a senior. And I say this every year, and again, I hope what you see and when you walk away from is Peachtree Ridge, this is our community, this is our school. Before I came, I had 2 boys that absolutely loved their school. They played on the sports here, they loved it, they loved their teachers. I knew how to pull up all the scores, the testing reports, and Peachtree Ridge is always up at the top. But what you can't see on the reports, and what my children didn't do a good job of articulating, because I don't even think they realize, Peachtree Ridge is special, and what I think makes us special is the relationship that the people in this building have. We are a team together. You'll see teachers and kids sitting on the floor working on projects. Like Dr. Matthews said, you will see lunchroom is crazy, but it's so cool. Our kids are just amazing. They really, really are. And it's a great place to be. And I say that as a parent who lives in your community, not as an assistant principal who works here. So together, we're going to get them ready for their next steps. All right, I'm Lynn Best. It's really easy to remember my last name. If your child's last name is between A through L, Miss Sylvia Rowe will be their counselor, and Mr. Zari has last names N through Z, and we are the support staff. We have several other assistant principals, but we are the 9th grade team. So we're here to help you with anything you guys need, and please ask us. One of the things, parents, that we do in the fall, we have something called Chat and Chew for our parents. If you're a working parent, just bring your lunch. We have it usually 11:30 to roughly 12:30, and it's just a very casual presentation that we have a small presentation, but most of it is just fielding your questions. High school is very different from when we went through, so we just want you to know what's going on. Okay, Peachtree Ridge, we are the only 4x4 block high school in Gwinnett County. And there's a big difference between an AB block and a 4x4 block. Probably the best way for me to explain 4x4, we only take 4 classes at a time. Typically, unless your child takes an AP class, or a year-long class, they're going to have 2 academics one semester and 2 academics second semester. We want that balanced, especially for our freshmen, because there's that big transition coming into high school. I need your help if, when your child gets their schedule in August, right away, if they have 3 academics first semester or second, then I want you to let us know right away, because we will fix that and we want to fix that. They're loving life if they only have 1 academic first semester, but then when 3 rolls around second semester, they're not going to be as happy. So in our school, you do a whole year's worth of work in 1 semester, kind of like a college does. So if your child has math in the fall, they're going to take all of Algebra 1 first semester, and they will close out a year's worth of work in December. And then whatever 2 academics they don't have first semester, they have them second semester. The nice thing is our kids have the opportunity to earn 8 credits a year versus only 6 if they're at any other school in Gwinnett. It gives them a chance to dig deeper. It gives them a chance to try different electives. If you like band, chorus, orchestra, theater, if you're like my sons, you can take weight training all 4 years. It gives you a chance to do some different things. So that's a plus. That's a plus. The state of Georgia requires 23 prescribed courses that you have to graduate. If you're at any other school, you only have 1 course to play with, but with us, you have 9 different courses. Kiddos and parents too, there is an adjustment to the pace. It's going to be faster. It's not crazy fast, but when you come in, you have to be ready to work. It's doable, absolutely, and it's not hard. But you can't just float through it. You cannot come in and think, hey, I only have 2 academics, so I don't have to work as hard. You do, because we're doing all that year's work in 1 semester. We basically have 3 levels. We have a college prep level, which is getting kids academically ready for college. We have a gifted/honors program. Previously, we called this pre-AP. You will see that on your registration forms, but that pre-AP term is going away. But it still is the same thing. At the high school, we blend our gifted and honors classes together. And then finally, we have advanced placement. One of the things with advanced placement, that is a college-level course. The content is governed by a college board. And it's the most rigorous course that you can take. As a freshman, you have 2 options. One is you can take AP Human Geography as a standalone. 2, you can take an AP Human Geography class combined with an AP Environmental Science class. It's rough, it's a lot of work, but we absolutely have kids who can do it. So those are some different options that you'll see with that. Parents also, I will post this PowerPoint on my webpage up here at the school, and I will also share it with your middle schools. So don't worry about having to take any notes or pictures or anything else. We'll have this so you can view it. Okay, one of the things that you're going to learn about more so in the spring from your middle schools, and I will also do an informational meeting, you're going to have the opportunity to earn Carnegie units. All the classes you take in high school, you can earn Carnegie units. We have several at the middle schools. Your math classes, your Algebra 1, or your Accelerated Algebra, your Physical Science, your Spanish 1, and your French 1. Carnegie unit equals credits. Different words means the same thing. And we will talk briefly, very, very briefly, what does this mean and what is your responsibility for it. What I will do in May, I think it's May 2nd, I'm going to just have an informational meeting. We can't recommend, do you take the credit or do you not take the credit, but your middle schools will be sending information, and Carnegie units, that's the high school's job. We mess with that every single day. So we're just going to hold an informational meeting, hopefully to make you feel more informed about that. Basically, what's going to happen is some point in May, the middle schools will send home a sheet of paper. You have to return it back in if you want the credit. Sometimes you might sit there and say, well, why would I not want the credit? Well, it just depends. If you take the credit, a grade is not factored into your child's grade point average. So it just goes in as a piece. So let's say physical science. Your child has a really solid understanding. Let's pretend they got a 92 first semester and a 93 second semester. Great, I'm going to take that Carnegie unit for physical science. You have to turn that paper back into your middle school saying, yes, I want that credit. And then when they get their high school transcript in January, it'll just say P. It counts as one of your science credit, but that 92 and that 93 is not factored into your grade point average. If you have older children, that's a change. That's a change starting this year. You might think, well, why would I not want to retake it? Well, let's say that your child is sitting in algebra this year, and maybe they have an 82. Maybe first semester they got an 82, second semester you have a 78. You might be thinking the same thing. Hey, I'm going to bank that math credit. But the minute you take the Carnegie unit, you cannot retake any of the classes. And once you guys walk in that door in 9th grade, we start that cumulative grade point average for your next opportunity. So we've got to get that GPA as high as we can get. When we transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, honestly, I think the biggest transition is the hours. You know, our kids are in their seats at 7:10 in the morning. Buses pick the kids up about 6:30. It's an early day. There's the excitement of high school. There's, like I said, a little bit of craziness that goes on. And Algebra 1 is the most important math class that you're ever going to take. So unless you have a really, really, really strong grasp on it, you probably don't want to take that Carnegie unit. But again, you got to look at each child. So we'll go more into detail about that in May, but ultimately, Mom, Dad, it's going to be your decision. Do I want the credit or do I not want the credit? If I take the credit, I have to move on to the next course, which could be great. But let's just say you take the credit, we put you on in geometry, and oh my gosh, the pace is crazy, and we got geometry first semester at 7:10 in the morning, and he's still asleep. The minute you take it, we have no options. So let's just learn a little bit more about that. If you do not turn the form back in, your child cannot have credit. So it's really important that if you want the credit, you turn that form back in. All right, one of the pathways that we have here at Peachtree Ridge is the SPIRE pathway. It is based around the STEM program. It's the STEM program for innovation, rigor, and excellence. And we started this, my baby's a senior this year. When she was a freshman was when we first started this. And we started in the 9th grade, and it was a blending or a pairing, if you will, of biology and language arts. And then each year we've added to it. We have 2 elements to it, and this will be better explained in the comments afterwards. One element is really just real life applications. In 9th grade, it's a pre-AP level, a gifted honors level, And the kids combine, pair up biology and language arts, and so the content will be biology-based, but as they're doing the writing and the research, that's in language arts, so they get the dual grades there. They'll talk a little bit more, but it depends on your child's learning style and really what their goals are. The other side of it is geared by the math course, for the most part, but it's really your more accelerated learner. Typically, these kids have accelerated geometry as a 9th grade student, and then we put them in gifted honors chemistry as a 9th grade student, and then they jump into AP biology their 10th grade year. So you'll learn about that in a minute. So this is our Spire pathway. Also, what your student will jump into, we have tons of electives here. I have to say, and I hate to say this because you guys heard how much I love 9th graders, but when it comes to elective classes, 9th graders were the peons. So we get all the intro classes. The seniors get first choice, then juniors, then sophomores. So really, when you guys select your classes in just a few weeks, I want you to really, really, really think about your electives. The best shot that you guys have, freshmen, of getting the elective classes that you want is to choose wisely now. Because what happens, probably more than you want to know, is when you tell us what you want, our curriculum office builds our master schedule. So we say, okay, we need teachers here, we need teachers there, we don't have enough kids who want to take this class, so let's move on here. And if you change your mind, it's totally about, is there an open seat? So let's say you sign up for Intro to Business Tech. Great, you got a seat for Intro to Business Tech. And then in May, you say, gosh, I really want to take art. Well, if there's not a seat in art, you can't take art. And like I said, preference-wise, we're at the bottom. And most of your courses will be intro courses. We have tons and tons of career tech ed classes. So tomorrow, you guys, you're going to get your freshman handbook. Parents, I did this with all of my kids. Take a folder, put your child's name on the front, and anything with high school, put it in there. This freshman course book will guide you through the next 4 years with courses and pathways and everything up here. Save it and look through it. But with Career Tech Ed, they have many options, and they have 3 courses in a series. You don't have to take 3 in a series, but you can. If you take all 3 courses and then you take the test, you actually are called a pathway completer. My daughter likes the marketing, so she took all 3 courses in marketing. She'll take the test in the spring, and then on her diploma, she'll be a marketing pathway completer. Because we're on the 4x4 block, your child can complete many different pathways. So really sit down and look at the different pathways when you get the handbook. And also, like I said, you guys choose well. You're going to have a lot of intro courses next year. And kiddos, there's something called a prerequisite. You probably have never had to deal with this before, but that's a class you have to take before you can take a more advanced class. So all these intro to digital tech, intro to business tech, marketing principles, all of these intro classes you have to take before you get into some of the other deeper classes. That might sound more fun. Art, you cannot take pottery, you cannot take photography until you take intro to 2D and then 3D art. All right, the middle schools handle registration pretty much the same, but their dates might be off a little bit. So what I want you guys to know, what I anticipate tomorrow is your students will come home with a course book, which will give them information. There are some planners in there. There are several different academic pathways. Moms and dads, you can jump up and down, off and on, the pathways except for math. There is pretty much zero flexibility with math, and I'm just throwing that out there now so that we don't disappoint you later, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And actually, Ms. Donahue, our math department chair, instructional coordinator, she is running a session basically to talk a little bit about that. So if your child starts next year and they're taking a college prep class, the year after, if they do really well, you can move them up to pre-AP. If they're in pre-AP, you can move them up to AP. If you start them off in pre-AP or to gifted honors this year and they struggle, you can move them to college prep. So there's flexibility up and down, off and on, different pathways except for the math. So what you guys need to know, I want you to follow the timeline that your middle school sends to you. I will pick up the registration forms from your middle school on the 25th. Okay, it's really, really important that you follow the middle school's timelines because We actually pick up the middle school kids' registration forms first. Our curriculum office has to manually input everything, and we want to have all that done before we have to start registering our own kids that are in the building. So, make choices, have conversations with your students, like Dr. Matthews was saying, please don't back off, guide them. You sure you want to do this? Well, how about this? Why don't you try this? If you jump that way, you're kind of stuck for a year, because we don't make many changes because we can't. So what will happen then, once we get those registration forms in, like I said, we start building our master schedule. The next mom and dad that you guys will hear, sometime in May, you will receive course registration. It is not your child's schedule, but it just says, hey, these are the 8 courses we have your child registered for next year. There will be directions. If we've got something wrong, we'll fix it. If you want to try to make an academic change, you can try. But again, at this point, we're just talking about open seats. One of the things that we do in 9th grade, and we're pretty strict about this, we absolutely go by what your child's academic teacher registers them for, kind of. I'll explain that kind of. As parents, we want to push our kids, and we say up here, we want them to bend, but we don't want them to break. I think sometimes we really forget the transition from middle school to high school. Like I said, we've got the early morning hours, we've got the pace of the 4x4 block, just the whole maturity, getting used to high school. All of a sudden you can play sports, you can compete, you can perform, you can do all these things for your school, and it's really fun. The kids are proud, and it's a neat thing to be able to do. And sometimes all of those transition things kick them in the rear a little bit, and it's hard for them to get the academics under control. So this is why we absolutely honor what the teacher says, because like I said, the minute they walk in the door, we start working for college. And typically what we see, your junior year is going to be the hardest year academically, your freshman year is usually where we see the lowest grades because of the transition. Now, if you absolutely think that the wrong decision was made, I want you to talk to your middle school teacher first. Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, can you tell me why you recommended my child for this? And if you still disagree with them, then you can call myself, Miss Rowe, or Mr. Zari. But it all needs to be done by March 1st, because again, we've got to get this master set. And we'll sit down with you one-on-one. We want to learn a little bit more about your child. We want to see test scores, standardized test scores, report cards. And if we think, okay, maybe, then we'll talk and we can possibly override that. But we want to be sure at that point in time that we have had a one-on-one conversation with you about that, because every single time, regardless, and we started doing this, you can't override the teacher 2 years ago, because every single time when a student was struggling, if we pulled the registration form, a parent had overridden what the teacher had recommended, because you're anxious for your kids. You want them to have the best opportunities. You want to stretch them. If we're going to do that, we just want to be sure that professionally we're sure that we laid it all out, and that we also see, okay, academically they got it in there, because we just don't want them to start off and fall, because once a grade is on the transcript, there is no changing it. Okay, like I said a minute ago, absolutely, if you are not comfortable or not pleased with it, contact us. That's on you guys. And just, my last name is real easy. If you go to the Peachtree Ridge webpage, you can find myself, Ms. Rowe, or Mr. Zari. We will say, come on in, bring your stuff, and we'll sit down and have that conversation. I told you about the May. You'll get, and I can't remember, to be honest, whether it's mailed home or whether we take it to the middle schools, but ask your child. First week of May, start asking, do you have your course request from the high school yet? Again, it's just the list of the 8 courses we have them registered for. If you would like to request changes, there will be directions on there. This is important, and this is why we're doing this session this year. Your 8th grade math course absolutely determines what math courses you can take in high school. There's just no flexibility with that, unless you want to drop down a level. And another thing that happens is we don't double up. We have parents ask this every year. We can't. Theoretically, it sounds great. Like, can my child take Algebra 1 first semester of 9th grade, and then can they take Geometry second semester of 9th grade? We can't. One of the things that people don't realize on the 4x4 block, let's just say that I'm up the road out of school and there are 100 kids who need Algebra 1. All 100 of those kids will take Algebra 1 first semester and second semester, and nobody would ever think about doubling up, right? That's what they do, that's all we can do. With us, what people don't realize is we take those same 100 kids and we put 50 of them in first semester and 50 of them in second semester. We don't have the capacity to double up. We don't have the teachers to cover all that. When you're on a 4x4 block, it's broken down differently, so you have to break it in half. So it's not that we don't want to, we can't. So what will happen in high school, your 8th grade course determines your pathway. Ms. Donahue will go over that. In your middle schools, you may have seen some steps. If your child starts in geometry in 9th grade, there is an opportunity when they're a junior, depending on how they do in geometry and then how they do in Algebra 2, that will determine whether they're an accelerated pre-cal or just regular pre-cal. But that's based on high school work, and we can see how they do on the block and everything else. All right, we are almost finished. Just a few things in general to think about, and then we'll move on to our next sessions. Really important, if you guys can come on March 12th, Miss Rowe does this awesome extracurricular night. It kind of feels like a fair in a way. We have about 70 to 80 clubs and organizations. That's not counting our athletic teams. I don't think it counts our performing arts either. And what we do on that night, any organization that would like is able to set up a table, and the kids will teach you about all the different clubs and organizations. It's really kind of fun, and it's a neat thing to see. The coaches are here with their sport, so if you're interested in playing a sport, the coaches will usually have you sign up, give an email, so that way you can get information on summer practices. Anyhow, it's a really fun, neat thing to be. So if you guys can come to that, it would be a great way for you to get in the building, to meet some of the high school kids, and to learn from them the different clubs and organizations that we have. We do something called Preview the Ridge. It's just basically to get the kids used to being in the building. Probably the biggest thing your child's most worried about is getting lost the first few days of school. Y'all, high school kids are nice. The seniors are not mean or anything else, but they're just kind of nervous because you don't know where to go. It is a big building. It's a really easy building. But on Preview the Ridge, we got our upper class leaders who come in, and they're going to teach you a little bit like how to get around the room. They do these different activities, or around the building, not the room. They do different activities, just how to balance the work. We do a scavenger hunt. So it's a fun 3.5 hours to get you into the building, to make you more comfortable, so that when the first day comes, you're not so nervous. So that's in the morning from 8:30 to noon. If you are taking AP, either the AP Human Geography or the AP Combo, we have a session from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. It's called the Lions Learning Institute. And that's just teaching you a little bit about the high school way, but more importantly, how do I do this AP class? If you take the AP courses as a 9th grader, you're taking college level courses, so you're going to have to know how to take notes. You're going to have to know how to extract information from what you read in the textbook, and they kind of show you that. So that's an important day to teach. And with Preview the Ridge, what I will do, there's not a cost for that. I'll send a link to the middle schools, and again, I'll have it on my page. It will be open from February 1st until it's the 18th. I probably will have it open until about July 7th or so. It's very, very important that you register your child so that I know how many kids I've got to plan for. We don't close it until just about a week beforehand, and then we can still take kids as you come in, but just for planning purposes and for getting students in, we break the kids into groups. It just helps us for planning. All right. Okay, so what's going to happen next? I know probably at this point, we've talked about registration. The registration information will be coming home soon. Those course booklets are important, so keep up with that. Hopefully when you all came in, it's just an informational flyer. Basically, it has our contact information along with our phone numbers. It has the important dates. It talks about the Carnegie Unit meeting, which we'll do in May. So there's not a PowerPoint in your handout, but hopefully some good contact information. We'll get the PowerPoint shared so you can have all that at your leisure at home. So what we're going to do in just a second is break into the different groups. So if you don't want to stay and hear any of the breakout sessions, that's okay. I know it's been a long day for parents out there working all day and kids who've been in school all day. If you want to stay, If you want to learn a little bit about Leap Inspire, stay here. Both of those groups will spend about 15 minutes each just telling you a little bit about their program. If you want to learn about AP and the AP combo, you will move into the theater. And if you want to learn a little bit about math, you will actually go down the hallway, and that will be in E110. I know that they've got this presentation going on down in the Media Center and in E110, so we might have to wait for just a second. If I move more quickly than they did, or vice versa, they might be waiting on us. But hopefully, when you guys walk away tonight, you think, you know what? My child is in good hands. And you guys know life is hard. It's not always smooth sailing. Sometimes we have our hearts broken. Sometimes we're thrilled because we're able to get what we want. But these next few years, what we need to do is work together so that when 4 years are over, your child's gotten everything that they need in order to be successful at that next step. So, welcome to Peachtree Ridge. And as Dr. Matthews said, go Lions! All right, so if you want to learn Leap Inspire, just stay here. AP in the theater, E110, which is right down that hallway for math.